and welcome to the inaugural episode of the IGC In Good Company podcast. My name is Amanda Shojaee. I'm co-founder of In Good Company, and our mission with our podcast is really to hold a space for bold-hearted leaders building businesses for people of all abilities. And so I want to introduce today founder Sarah Gabriel as our host and visionary behind the show. And we're going to give you a teaser over, a little bit more about ourselves, who we are as founders as this company, and kind of give you a little insight into some great conversations we're about to have over the course of many episodes coming soon. So with that, Sarah, give me a little insight. Where did your heart for the Interability team come from?
Thank you for being here and helping me kick this season off with a little prequel. The heart for this show really is because we do a lot of calls, we have a lot of conversations with business leaders about how to bring the disability community more into our workspace, because they are so often, in my opinion, overlooked and underestimated. And this is a tremendous workforce that needs to be a part of our communities. And so we have a lot of these conversations on the phone, online, but they're rarely recorded and they're never shared with the world. And I just hang up on so many of these calls and think, gosh, I wish that person I spoke to yesterday could have heard that call today. And I think we could all be learning from each other and encouraging one another and sharing best practices. So we thought, why don't we just record all these conversations and put them out there into the world for the rest of us to learn from?
Absolutely. I think we're so in the space. So to us, it's very familiar. Even though we still do learn about new leaders and businesses that are doing great in Interability. But yeah, why not put a spotlight on this so everybody can be as informed as we are? Okay, so going back a little bit, what was that personal or professional experience that really shaped you in this work?
I started my career as a teacher to students with learning differences. So I worked with students who had autism. Many of the disabilities were invisible, meaning they were diagnosis like dyslexia, severe ADHD, and not for all, but for some students, they get to the end of school and they approach what's called the cliff, which means the services end, and then the question becomes, what next? And even looking at these second graders, I was already thinking ahead to, post senior year in high school, what happens next for my students? And so I had a family member challenge me by basically saying, if this is a problem that you're passionate about addressing, why don't you get out of the classroom and go do something like business school, which seemed so foreign to me. But he said, I think there are some really important skills that you could acquire and bring to your work to kind of come up with a more well-rounded solution, and not only the skills, but find the people and the resources that can help you do that. So that's actually where you made your grand entrance into the space. So I'm going to flip it and quickly let you tell the audience how you came into this conversation and work within Good Company.
Yeah, that was really where we got connected, was during the MBA program. And I think for me, I didn't have the idea, but I had kind of like an itching for more, to do something a little more impactful. So when I saw you post on our class chat, you were looking for any volunteers to look into this problem and start, doing some interviews and questioning of the space. I was like, this is exciting. And I have a lot of extra time that I could be doing something valuable. And so, I'm glad I put myself out there and connected with you, even though it was such a brand new experience for me, not coming from the disability world. But it's been something so worthwhile, learning something new every day. And, yeah, I've just really enjoyed it. And that brings me to the MBA experience. How did In Good Company go from a little idea to the reality that it is now?
We had some great mentors and advisors and professors while we were at Georgia Tech. And I think the best lesson we learned was just how to ask a good question. and a series of questions, really, and how to come at a problem with a curious, humble heart and open mind, because what we think might be a great solution could not be what's needed or wanted in that space. And so we went through a couple of incubators for entrepreneurs. Some of them were even female founder focused, and learned how to run discovery. We had a lot of conversations with individuals with disabilities, parents, family members of those with disabilities, just learning what's the experience like after school? What are the challenges? What is needed? What are the gaps? Because we certainly want to add value where there is still, need for support. And the conclusion that we came to was the gap between job seekers with disabilities and employers with open roles can often be knowledge. It's a knowledge gap. And employers may not intentionally be screening out these candidates, but there can be a lack of awareness, a lack of understanding of the capabilities that this group has to bring to their team. And if we can step in and provide employers with the frameworks, the skills, the knowledge, the confidence to employ some incredible candidates, it can go a lot smoother. And then, of course, from there, we want to focus on retention, and we've got processes for all that too. But really, being in business school and learning how to ask good questions led us to this understanding that something that still seems to be missing is the support for the employer. The job seekers are getting the support in many cases. They're doing the job training, they're going through programs, they're working with job coaches. We need to be sure these employers are equipped and confident enough to receive them.
Right, because there's so many employers out there, especially the ones that are leading these interability teams, that have the best of intentions, the best of hearts, so they want to do what's right, but everybody needs a helping hand sometimes, and needs a little bit more to make sure they're supporting each other in the workplace. So, and that's what we're trying to do here at In Good Company. But now bringing us back to this podcast, because you're probably wondering what we're doing here. And I was too when you sprung this idea on me. Sarah, tell us, what are the kinds of stories or conversations we're going to have on this platform?
Absolutely. So here's the thing. We started our work with In Good Company going into businesses who may not have much experience employing people with disabilities. And what we found is that while there are some that are ready to do the work and welcome this way of hiring and employing, there are many who are still waiting to see if it's a good idea. They're looking to other companies to see, does it work? How does it work? Would this work for me? And around that time, we were connected with Mint Coffee in Atlanta, Georgia. And they're a business that from day one had the mission to employ individuals with disabilities. And of course, many of us have heard about these models. Biddy and Bose is the one that always comes to mind. There's Rising Tide Car Wash in Florida. They're starting to spring up, and they're the proof of concept, really, for the rest of these businesses that are kind of still waiting to see if they should jump in. And we started thinking, these businesses, these interability employment models, they're doing tremendous work. It's needed. And I think we need even more of it. We need these groups to succeed. And be the educators for the rest of the employers in the world to say, hey, this can work and this is how. And of course, this is why, and all the other who, what, when, where, whys that come up in the discussion. But we thought, let's start telling these stories of the ones already doing it. Let's learn what's working well. And in doing so, I think the rest of the employers can feel a little bit more confident following. And I'll also say there's another group that I hope to see in our audience, and that is the aspiring business leaders. Maybe the ones that are an advocate or a parent or a teacher like myself who see a problem, they want to do something about it, and they just need a little more help. They need more resources, they need more knowledge, whatever that might be, to be courageous and take the leap and open that new business. But it's daunting. It's really daunting. And so if they could be encouraged by these stories, but also equipped, I think we want to balance the encouragement with equipment and say, this is how others have done it successfully. This is what they grappled with. It's not all easy. A lot of it is very challenging and complex, but if we can learn from those that have gone before us, let's keep doing the good work. We've mapped a couple hundred interability business models in the United States, I'd love to see several hundred more. And I think the first step is learning and supporting.
Sarah, I think you're so right. I'm really excited to hear some of these stories, and especially the one you alluded to with Mend. Because I think if we really do learn from those who come out before us first, and
Mm-hmm.
go through the ups and downs of operating their business in this way. And I so appreciate their willingness to be vulnerable and share what goes well and what doesn't, so others can learn and maybe do a little better themselves. And so you alluded to like who else would be kind of tuning in to listen. Is there anyone else, any other group that you think could benefit from hearing these conversations?
Anyone who has a team, who has roles to fill, who has already filled those roles with some incredible individuals with disabilities, even the best of us, even the professionals have more to learn, because every new employee has a new situation and they have their own set of strengths and areas for support. And we've already pre-recorded some of these episodes, and you'll hear from the best of the best that they're still learning and iterating on their process. I spoke to someone, they won't be coming on the show, but someone who started out as a model that primarily employed people with visual impairments. And she said, then suddenly they had a lot of applicants with autism, and that was a completely different set of accommodations that they were thinking about. And so whether you're brand new to the conversation or you're a seasoned leader and expert in the space, we should all continue to be learning.
Right. That's so right. So tell us what's coming next. How can listeners be a part of this community?
Oh, I hope they will, because I think that it's going to be a great community. We, of course, would love for them to subscribe. I love listening to podcasts, and now we have a podcast. So now I know the importance of building that following early on, because it helps you get visibility with new listeners. Please subscribe. Please leave a comment. Share this podcast with anyone that you know that's leading a business, hiring, leading team members. And then we're going to have some fun activities along the way. This summer, we have our IGC shopping passport, and we have featured, we could not feature nearly enough, but we have started with this first round of businesses that we're hoping to send as many shoppers to as possible. And you'll see all about it on Instagram. You can see it on our website. You can see it in the show notes. But this passport, the whole idea is just to raise awareness of the businesses, to go observe them if you can in person, shop with them online if they're far away. But one, help them succeed, because when they succeed, truly we all succeed in this work, because we are all the proof of concept where we are, whether you're in Atlanta, Georgia, New York City, or Florida. We need visibility with this work. And so we need these businesses to flourish. And one way we can do that is just by shopping and the power of purchase. So please play the passport game this summer, connect with us online, and listen.
Well, that sounds great. And if there's one thing I know how to do, it's to go shopping. So I'm happy to support in that passport challenge as well. So look out for that on our Instagram. Our website is igcwithus.com. Take a look. Look out for our next episodes, and they're available on Apple. They're available on Spotify. So like Sarah said, subscribe, leave a review, or maybe even drop a note about a business you would like to see on the podcast.
Yeah.
About more businesses that are doing interoperability and doing it well. So we'd love to see that as well. And with that, thank you, Sarah, for joining me, and looking forward to some more great stories on this podcast journey we're on.
Absolutely. We will see you next time.